Welcome to Gold Derby. I'm senior editor Denton Davidson here with Cristin Milioti, who is a Golden Globe and Critics' Choice Awards nominee for her role as Sofia Falcone in The Penguin. You're a first timer for both, so what's your reaction to that?
Oh my God. I mean, it's been I've been just like deeply overwhelmed and honored. Um and I like can't wait to be with the cast again and like put on some nice clothes and get to like toast to this thing that we made because it's so sort of strange like you get together for the premiere and then you don't see each other
Yeah.
really outside of like press events and stuff that go pretty fast. So it's like it's nice to be able to like spend a night together.
And it's such a great series. It's so unlike what we've seen in the Batman universe. How into Batman were you before this? Like, did this make you more of a fan or were you already there?
I was already there. I've been like a huge Batman fan my entire life, and I've seen every single movie, some of them multiple times. I was Catwoman for Halloween when I was little, like the Michelle Pfeiffer Batman Returns I saw in the theaters when I was 7. It was deeply seminal film for me, and this has been like yeah, a sort of like lifelong dream bucket list type of project and role because I love this universe. It's my favorite one.
What was it about Michelle Pfeiffer? What made that a seminal film for you? Expand on that a little.
I think because probably because the age when I saw it, like it's sort of one of those films. It was one of the first. Like I think I was just going to see um movies in movie theaters. My dad took me, but like sort of like movies that weren't just Disney cartoons. I sort of have the same thing with Jurassic Park. I saw Jurassic Park in the same sort of like couple years of childhood and just remembering what a visceral reaction I had to it, but specifically with Michelle Pfeiffer. I mean, I think because it's so multi-layered and it's so fun and campy while being completely devastating and sort of like operatic, and you can't take your eyes off her in that film. I mean, you can't take your eyes off anybody in that film. It's like so it was so unlike anything, and that was also like, for me at least, like the first superhero thing I had seen.
And the Penguin is such a fascinating origin story of Oz, and to see his connection with this crime family in Gotham, which Sophia rises to power in. But your episode that everyone was talking about is that fourth episode. It's Sophia's story, and it's brilliant. What was that? What was your reaction when you saw the script for that?
Oh my God. I mean, I I was so overwhelmed in like the best way because Lauren had talked to me through a little bit what was going to happen. When I signed on, she sort of talked me through Sophia's arc and through her backstory. So I knew certain events, like I knew about what would happen between her and her father, and obviously her and Oz in that episode. But to read it, it was a real oh my God. I mean, I was beside myself because I that the opportunity to do what I get to do in that episode and what that character gets to go through, like that doesn't come around very often. And so I knew that I knew how special that was, just sort of as like a piece of writing in the world. But then I also was so excited because it like I could see there were so many things in there that I'd always sort of dreamed I would get to explore and do, just to like track someone for that many years of their life. Um, and yeah, I was thrilled. Thrilled is an understatement.
Yeah, I mean, I think you go through almost every range of emotions possible in that episode. How long did it take to film that episode? It feels like a short film almost, or not even a short film, almost a film.
Yeah, I mean, that's such a testament to Lauren and also that episode's director, Helen Shaver, who I can't sing her praises enough. Like that the sort of like breadth of that episode, we didn't get any extra time for that episode, which is crazy just given how many different time periods it goes through and then like how many different locations. I think the stuff in Arkham, all the fights and like in the sort of mess hall, that I think we had a day and a half to film all of that. And the Arkham stuff, maybe like 4 or 5 days. total with everything that happens in there. And then it was a lot of like, you know, we shot this show both quickly and not quickly. Like it was like very, I'm like sort of discombobulating. But that episode in particular, where a lot of days were like I would start the day post Arkham and then at lunch be getting changed over into when I'm in my 20s and before anything happens. And so you sort of felt like a race car. Like you would just have tons of people on you, sort of taking scars off and putting things on, and you just kind of put your head down and yeah, I don't know. Like I was gonna say barreled through, but I also was like having the time of my life. So I was also not, it was not, I was like very much trying to soak up every moment of it.
Well, Sophia's betrayed by everyone she trusts, except for her brother, and her own family frames her for murder and then institutionalizes her. The family writes letters saying she's insane. What was the most challenging part of that episode of being locked away for 10 years?
You know, like obviously the some of the physical stuff was really challenging. Like those are just long days and I'm not um like a stunt person. And so like you're definitely being physically challenged. Like I'm really, getting like slammed and dragged and certainly those are um, you know, very specific emotional states that you have to stay in for hours at a time. But like I'm even reticent to call that a challenge because I was so excited to be asked to do that. And I would say that if anything, the challenge was sort of like wanting to make sure that I really landed her story. And I felt in such excellent hands. Like the script was so beautiful. And like I said, Helen, our director, was so fabulous. But like I really wanted to be able to like calibrate everything so that you really see um how she's driven mad. And the challenge was like trying to hold on to that while working at like a breakneck pace, I would say.
Well, and being driven mad, I mean, she holds off. She doesn't give these people what they want for so long, and finally she just breaks and smashes that girl's head in. I mean, what was it like to unleash Sophia's rage like that?
It was like horrifying and liberating because I also I have such a deep sort of, it sounds like so actory, but like I love this character so much and I've loved playing her so much. And I felt in such like creative communion with Lauren about her. And so like while that scene was brutal, I also like love her so much that I understood why it happened. And it did feel sort of like a release, even though it's like also horrifying. Um, and all that stuff that we filmed, um, it felt like Helen really like empowered a lot of the background artists to like she kind of just like roamed, not that the shots weren't planned, but like some of it she just kind of like left open, and so everyone was extremely involved. It really felt like you were in this like bubble at Arkham. All those women in there came up with a story of like who their character was, and it was so going through that. I mean, I still like get chills thinking about it, going through that with Magpie and having them all screaming and like banging the table. I mean, it was incredibly immersive, and you don't uh, get to have that experience all the time. So it was like thrilling to film, and also weirdly like thrilling and a thrilling release for that character, even though I know it's like horrible.
And Sophia then returns to society with a lot of strength and power. What was it like to play like a mob boss?
They're the best. I mean, I dare, the best, especially I think because once episode 4 happens and she really like comes into her own, yes, she's doing things that are morally reprehensible, but like you understand why. And she does have some sort of like very Batman villain sort of moral code of ethics that like don't totally make sense except for her. Like she really only she liked how she spares the child, even though that's like horrible what she does to that child, but in her brain she's like, well, I've saved her, this is a good deed that I've done. And so once she's sort of free to take up that space and be in those fabulous clothes, like it was also like a thrill because I was so excited for this character. Like it's so exciting, it's this thing she's um she's been without for so long that for her to get to step into that was like also, yeah, it was so much fun.
And one of my other favorite scenes is that dinner scene where she has all the family together and she's telling them all what they've done to her. And then that night she gasses them all. She
Yeah.
takes a dark switch. I mean, is there a point in the series where like you change how you approach the character, or is there like could you feel a difference in your portrayal, or what was that like?
There was definitely like, I think that's one of my favorite scenes in the whole show is the dinner scene. And, something I really wanted to make sure that I expressed or portrayed, or I don't know what the right verb um, is how free she is suddenly physically in that scene because she knows what's coming and like she's sort of like able to express all that and she's so held in those first couple episodes and really like when she's dancing over their bodies you see this like breed it's like someone who's allowed to breathe and experience joy and I wanted that to sort of feel like the physical embodiment of lightness and joy even in the face of like she's literally the train of her dress is like going over the bodies of all of her relatives and I that like juxtaposition those are my favorite things to watch and my favorite things to be a part of.
I agree. And it's so great to see this origin story of Penguin and how Sophia fits into that. What was it like just going back and forth with Colin Farrell, who's unrecognizable? I mean, people said if they didn't see like the cast, they wouldn't have known it was him. What was it like to be in that?
Fabulous. I mean, I felt like, even though we're adversaries on the show, we were real like partners in life, like um, I felt so safe with him and like we could also go to like very far places together. He's delightful. His talent is like, extraordinary. Um, and he like I don't know, we both like really love acting and like really love like you know digging as deep as you can and we also love a good giggle and he was just lovely to work with.
And at the end,
Lovely.
he screws her over one more time. I mean, he's gonna put a bullet in her head, and then the cops come instead. And I feel like she would rather be dead. Am I
And
am I right?
I think so as well. I mean, that's like what's so interesting about their dynamic is that they actually, because they know each other so well, they're able to sentence the other to a fate worse than death. Obviously his fate is um he's in a prison of his own, like with what has been exposed to his mother and what has happened to her and like it's the one person he cared about and you know um and they would only know that about the other. But yeah, to your point, she would it's a fate worse than death. It's horrible.
You know, you bring up his mother, and there's all this attention on you and Colin, and for good reason. But one of the unsung heroes of this series to me was Deirdre O'Connell as his mother. What was it like? I mean, that kidnapping scene where she's going off on him because she knows what he did to his brothers, and you're watching. What was it like just to be watching that? She's fantastic.
It's incredible. Well, I've known Dee Dee for many, many years because we both have done theater in New York. And so I've known her socially a little bit, but also just always been a massive, massive fan because she's a supernova. And getting to be in scenes with her was just like it's like getting hit by a hurricane or something. It's incredible to watch. And their chemistry is so crazy. And it was just a pleasure. That whole sequence felt very much like a play and was you know, it felt like we were locked in that room for 48 hours and sort of yeah, just it I don't know how else to describe it. It felt like a very twisted play in the best way.
It was
And
so
she's
great. What do you take away from this whole experience? I mean, when you think back on this has to be a career highlight.
it is. It is. Like, you know, I've been really, really lucky. I've gotten to work on a lot of things that um I've loved and that uh that then people also love. And then I've worked on a lot of things that like no one has ever seen or just straight up not liked. Like, you know, it's the ride of like being an actor. Um, but I really pinch myself because I've gotten to work with such incredible people on things that I also believe in. And, you know, this project, there was so much of that. And then there was also like the childhood bucket list, like of wanting to play a Batman villain and of getting to play one that is so complicated and so multi-layered and goes on such a journey while still getting to wear like, you know, like fabulous Batman villain gear, like the gas mask with the ball gown. Like, are you kidding me? I that was so exciting. Um, so it's definitely a career highlight. And also, you know, we all got along like a house on fire too, which is
No pun
like that's
intended.
a special. Oh, like no, exactly, no pun intended. Actually, wow, that's really good. I'm gonna steal that going forward. Um, but yeah, like that was also a special element to it. And we're shooting in New York, and like you know, just it was yeah, it was a real thrill. And yeah, I'm still sort of I miss it. It was great.
And speaking of shows people love, I mean, if you scroll through your IMDb page, you can see upcoming and it says Black Mirror 2025. Can you tease that confirmation, denial? Like, what
Oh
can you
yeah,
share?
confirmation, but that's like all I can say.
Well, we can't wait. We love Black Mirror. And now that it's awards season, and I mentioned you're up for a Golden Globe and Critics' Choice Award, do you remember the first award you ever won, like in life, for anything? Was there any, what kind of award have you won, even as a kid?
I won a trophy at a local singing competition when I was like 6. Tiny, tiny, tiny.
Do you remember
And
what you said?
I don't remember. I barely remember the event itself, but I do remember the trophy because it like sat in my bedroom. And so like I remember there was like that weird like marble sparkly blue base, and then I think it was in the shape of a music note, like a or not a, yeah, in the shape of a note. Uh and that was the first thing. I'm
That.
almost positive. Yeah.
And we're also hitting Oscar season. So have you kept up with things on the film side? And did you watch the Oscars growing up?
Yes.
Did you have a favorite Best Picture or acting winner that you remember that you were like, that's like, what's your most memorable Oscar memory?
You know, I don't remember because I would watch them with my dad um every year, and I mostly remember the hosts actually. Like the Billy Crystal, did David Letterman host it one year too? Like I remember more of the like opening numbers and like the bits, like when they performed Blame Canada, like with like I remember like that stuff. I mean, of course I remember certain speeches and certain wins, but I it was more just like the sort of magnitude of it that I remember.
Well, Kristen, congratulations on the incredible series, The Penguin. It's streaming on Max, and we're rooting for you at the Golden Globes and Critics' Choice Awards. And thanks for chatting with Gold Derby today.
Thanks so much. Thank you for having me.